So the plot thickens. The last day of Daytona 500 testing. Wednesday, team's getting ready to go home, trying to beat the snow, sleet, freezing rain down here at Daytona. And all of a sudden, people are starting to ask us some serious questions about the Toyotas. I just talked to a driver who has not to be identified. He said it's more unequal now than he's ever seen it, and he's been around for a long time. Toyota's got an edge. He says the edge is power. He says it's not aerodynamics. The car tomorrow, which is the car today, aerodynamics isn't making a difference in Daytona. It's pure power. Toyota's got a significant amount of power, more than the rivals. NASCAR's probably going to address that with a minor gear rule change. But the driver I talked to said the change, if it changes 400 or 500 RPM from what they're running right now, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Toyota has its restrictor plate program figured out. Until NASCAR addresses that issue, this driver says nothing's going to change. NASCAR's RPM band for this track is up significantly. I talked to Doug Yates this morning. He's very concerned about it. He's, of course, almost Mr. Daytona. When it comes to speed, the Yates are famous, and they're 0.6 of a second a lap off. He says Toyota's power band right now is perfectly suited for the rules that NASCAR has. He also says that all the cars are running 8,800 RPM in the draft. That's almost 1,000 RPM more than what they were running last year with the rules last year. And he says that the engines Toyota has are at max horsepower at the current RPM level. And he says that everybody else is wasting their RPM, that they can't make as much power in this power range. So they're asking NASCAR for a smaller rear end gear rule, which would take some RPM out, maybe 200 RPM out. So instead of running 8,800 RPM, they'd be running 8,600 RPM. Most guys I talk to say that won't make a difference. They say that Toyota's doing the political footwork just the right way, and the other manufacturers need to get up there and start talking and making their case. And getting somebody on the record about this issue so far is pretty difficult. But Toyota's Lee White says it's just sour grapes. These guys ought to go home and go back to work. And DJ, Dale Jarrett, he's having a ball out there. He might not even retire if he keeps running like this. Sort of a momentous week coming up for him when Speed Weeks opens, his last Daytona 500, and he says it's still too early to know just exactly what this one's going to look like.
The Toyotas do have good speed. You know, they've worked extremely hard on this program, and you know, when we were here last year, I mean, it was just, you know, trying to throw everything together as quickly as we possibly could and be here. So a year's gone by, and a lot has happened in that amount of time to make us much better. I've come to grips with it here that, you know, I've had a wonderful career. You know, is when I dreamed about driving these race cars and possibly being successful at it. I've exceeded all of those dreams, and because of a lot of really good people. So I've been very fortunate, and you know, my time's come to move aside and you know, move on to whatever else this is going to take me to do. And so, but I'm okay with it, and hopefully it'll still be that way after we finish. You know, being able to finish well and run well in that 500 would make it that much more enjoyable. You're going to see a great race, but what you're going to see is a different race than what I think, and I can be wrong. I have been a couple of times, and I think that you're not going to see the just double file and then making it 3 wide all the time. I don't think that you're going to see that. Not here. It's too much of a handling racetrack, and there's too many bumps out there, and we have to figure out how to deal with this car across all of those bumps and not run into the guy beside us or right in front of us. And so I think you're going to see a different race, but that's not saying it's not going to be exciting. I think you're going to see an extremely exciting race, and so but it is a totally different car, totally different feel, and you have to have just an open mind, because if you come here thinking that, well, we're just going to do what we've done here in the past, then you're going to be in trouble.
By themselves, cars are running 8,200 RPM qualifying mode. In the draft, they pick up considerably. A 4 or 5 car draft will run 185 miles an hour. A 10 car, 12 car draft will run 188, 189 miles an hour, Doug Yates says. And when they get a 43 car field out there, could pick up even more. How NASCAR addresses that problem tonight, Wednesday night, we'll all be waiting to see. Those people that aren't Toyota men don't expect to see much change. Storm clouds coming at Daytona Wednesday afternoon, yes. But the good news, tire problems are down drastically. Goodyear's Phil Homer gives us the heads up on that.
Last week, and a little bit this week, we heard about tire problems. Camber, I don't know, there's a new chassis set up under these cars.
That's right.
And there's a new tire combination for this car. This whole Daytona 500 is going to be new.
It sure is.
Last week, a lot of teams and drivers were upset about the tire issue. This week, I don't hear that much complaints. What's changed?
I'd say if you're looking for one word, familiarity, what's happening is that the car is definitely different. The car needs different settings for the chassis and whatnot, and it's basically camber and air. And from last week to this week, you know, when we got here this week, there are a few guys still like the guys last week had these other settings, and they learn very quickly. So, well, this isn't going to work in this car, and so that's what they've been doing. They found that the car is basically asking. It's tougher on right sides. There's no doubt. Even when we came here and tested, when you come here and you're running all these cars together, they're going to go faster, and they're going faster, and they did even in the 6-car run that we had in the test. So the thing to do is basically increase the air, change the camber a little bit, and they're finding out what they have. And right now, yesterday afternoon, and this morning, today being Wednesday, we've got cars that are running full fuel loads plus what it needs.
So you're confident there will be no major tire issues in the 120s?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
But now we're talking about 100 pounds more on the right side. This is a whole new car. I mean, there's a lot of stuff these guys will stand around and say, we just don't know what the Daytona 500 is going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be single file, 3 cars wide, up and down, inside out. There's a lot of unknowns in the way the race
There always is when you come in with a new car. So, you know, you work through it. You know, there'll be the qualifying races and whatnot. People will learn a lot. From what I've seen what I saw last year and whatnot, I think you're going to see, you know, groups of cars drafting, almost like they used to 20 years ago, maybe. I'm not sure.
You mean small groups, 5 or 6 cars or something like that?
6 to 10, maybe. You just have to wait. Another thing we're doing is back in Akron right now. They've got, you know, we've got a test center there, and they're running different air pressures, different camber settings, and this and that. Just now that they have more familiarity with the car, they're doing that, and they're trying to see, you know, okay, what will happen? You know, should we go up on a recommendation in there? I think that will happen.
Okay, what is the recommendation on right
Right now here for the open house, it's been 50 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if that went up. Yeah, and they will make sure that it can't help but be conservative. Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
That's the report. The final round of Daytona 500 testing. Daytona International Speedway, Mike Mulhern for the Winston-Salem Journal and JournalNow.com.